What is your name?
My name is Nyein.
All right. So how were you involved in the AA uprising?
In the 1988 uprising, I wasn't in Burma anymore. I left from Burma in 1985, January. So I wasn't there, but when 1988 happened, I was in the Philippines as a student. I was attending a Central Philippine University undergrad program. So when we heard that, then we organized the student government in the student government body in the Central Philippine University. We have our university resolutions condemning the military crackdown, and then I went to Manila where I met the Philippine Labor Union, and then we staged the anti-government demonstration in front of the permanent embassies, and then my father was there too. Then he came, and then we sent the protest letter to the U.S. Embassy, and then we sent the letters to the Philippine the Department of Foreign Affairs, request the condemnation of the military government crackdown.
Okay. So, what is the refugee status like in Myanmar now?
Myanmar now is we had a refugee since 1947-48. After the Civil War, and there was a flow of Karen refugees went to Thailand, and then the refugee had been there since 19. It's a long time. It's been a long time problem. But in the 1988, we have a suddenly surge of a refugee. Right after that, then it's in 1992-3. They had a big operation to drive out the rebel forces. Then they created millions of refugees that time in all over the direction. And in the Kachin state, it was in the refugee in Kachin state. There are so because in Burma, if you see the geographical location, the map of the Burma is everywhere. All the areas surrounding Burma are held by the ethnic minorities, and everybody has an armed group, and everybody fought against the government. So whenever there is a war, then they create a refugee outflow. So there are refugees in India, refugees in China, and refugees in Thailand, and the majority of the refugees are now in Thailand. And now lately we have a Kachin conflict. So Kachin conflict creates like 20,000, 30,000 refugees nowadays. They are either in the jungle or in the Yuli, China. So they have opened up the refugee camps there. And now, if the conflict continues, then it will have more refugees there now.
How have you been involved in the refugee system?
I myself do not have any direct hand on that, but the refugees are relocated here. There are some family members here that try to ask my help, who are stuck in the refugee camps back there. Then I wrote the letter for them. I tried to find the sponsors, churches, and can sponsor them to relocate it to the United States and other countries. That is how I helped. And then when they get here, many of them need help. Many of them are not prepared to live here independently yet. So I have to take care of their paperwork, welfare, sending to clinics, all those kind of things. I'm still doing it, so there are still many of them, so I'm still doing it.
How do you think the refugee condition will improve, or what can we do about it?
Refugee will improve when there are twofold that we can do, because the refugees who are already in the second country, which is not Burma and not the final third country. So the people in transition, they are a problem, big problem. Okay, a lot of them have a problem. The refugee screening process is also problematic because a lot of refugees have they have to have an individual biological story, biological experience, and some of them found to be not consistent. But somebody has a problem like that, but a lot of them are in transition. The biggest problem they had was the host country will not take them. so many reasons, because the global economy is now, as you see it, is not really dynamic this time. So the moment that the global economy is not improving, then the third country, it will indirectly affect the relocation process. That is one of the reasons. So there are the people in transition, they are the biggest problem. Because a lot of them are just dying out. Some of them are 10 years, 20 years already in the camps. So they're getting old, and the children are getting old without education. And then the only thing we can improve is, there are two things we can do. One thing is that the third country government aggressively pursue that to integrate them back to the third country. Or they can give the second opportunity right there in where they are in transition. To recognize them as a permanent resident and a citizen of these communities, and that is them. The biggest problem is that if another conflict comes in and then create another batch of refugees, that can be a bigger problem. So it shouldn't happen. That is what our major concern.
Other questions? What effects did the refugee conflict have on you or anyone you know?
Oh, well, refugee conflict, refugee refugees are, most of the problem with the refugee is that it's very unfortunate because people leave their home where they have been living generations. Why do they leave? Because of the conflict that is not their fault, not they can do anything about. So they left. So it's already happened. So our concern is to make best out of it. Not blaming the past. Blaming the past just don't do anything. So whatever comes up, we have to make best out of it. So the first generation of refugees arrive in the third country or they're in transition. We try to make best of whatever we have. So they come to this country, then we'll try to make them the best citizen of this United States and anywhere, Norway, Sweden, anywhere. Be the best citizen, the asset to the society that welcome them, or me, sorry. So then the second generation has to remember that our home is here, not there, and continue to work to improve that.
Do you know any refugees in other countries other than the United States?
I know a couple of them in Norway. Yeah. Okay. Norway is not like the United States. Norway has a bigger welfare programs there. So they're okay, but the only thing is they're not employed because in Norway, any other country, then you cannot be employed unless you are assimilated. Okay? So the assimilation process is also very difficult. Okay. The people from a tropical country comes to the Norway and this is a problem. Just like people go to Alaska and overnight, that's the same thing. Okay. So there are many obstacles in making a life. So the world is there. We are so fortunate that there are third countries that are willing to welcome them and give them the best they have. So all we have to do is be a good citizen, assimilated, be an asset in that society, community, not just a liability to that. So that's what I always tell them, that okay, you do what you can good of that society there, because we owe the society here. Got nothing to do with us. They can live without entertaining us. That's the basic thing. Okay, anything else?
Any last thoughts?
My last thought is that there are good and evil in the world. Okay, so the peace is not just not having a war. Peace is what there's no evil for me. Okay? Evil is not just military dictatorship. Evil is a serial killer. Is an evil. Sexual harassment is an evil. Those are the things that. So as a good citizen, good person, then fight evil. If you fight evil, good is on the upper hand, then you'll have a better society. Good is not in the upper hand, you don't have it, like Burma. The good is not in the upper society. In Burma, cheating is not very shameful. This is common, because everybody lies and cheat. So that is not a good society. Okay, so let's be honest and stand up for the good. If you see something that's not just, stand up. Because if you tolerate that, not my business, then you'll come to your business later.